I'm honored to present this episode's guest, Lynne Forrest, who has been a spiritual mentor for over 40 years. In this episode, we are going to dive into a victim triangle. Victim consciousness is extremely important if you want to live an abundant life. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to ditch the outdated beliefs, release the blocks, and fully embrace your sovereignty so you can confidently expand to allow more love, joy, and aligned success in your life. I am Niajae, your conscious accountability partner, reminding you that abundance is your birthright. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning into the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? I am super excited to dive into today's guest. She is Lynne Forrest, and we're going to talk about a victim triangle. So if you're joining me for the first time, M&Ms actually stands for Magical Manifestors. And the purpose of this podcast is to help people really tap into their higher level of consciousness. And I think that requires getting out of that victim mindset. So before we dive into everything that she does, Lynne, I want to ask you, what does abundance mean to you?
Oh my, abundance. Abundant means being connected with a universal flow. I see it as being like a hose is hooked up to the faucet and the faucet is on. But if you've got a crimp in the hose, even though you may direct it to the flowers, it's not. So abundance is doing what it is to open up the channel so that that flow of consciousness can flow through and bring you everything it has to offer.
I love that. I love that. So my first time trying EFT tapping, they actually gave that exact explanation of, we have emotions that flow through us or abundance that flows through us. And when we get a knot in it, it blocks it. So a lot of the healing modalities is undoing that knot. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, because we're vibrational beings, which means
Mhm.
we're connected with that which sources us. We can't not be. And so this
Mhm.
idea that we're separate is really, that's an illusion. It cannot be.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So tell us about you. Who is Lynne Forrest?
Oh, well, the story of Lynn Forrest is a long, twisted road, But I've been working with individuals and groups and for 40 plus years and doing this work. I grew up in a metaphysical home. My mother was a seeker and teacher in her own right, and healer and clairvoyant. And so I grew up, my siblings and I, there were three of us, grew up on the very principles that I now call the guiding principles, universal laws. They're not mine. They're just after working with people for so many years and really, really saying, how can I take these universal laws and apply them on the ground? That's the work I've been doing for 40 plus years. And the victim triangle is one of those tools of really understanding what it is when we're knotted, what it is that's knotting the hose and keeping us from being connected. So consciousness and understanding of that is what allows us to open up and reconnect, remember who we are, and which is really how it is we realign with that which we are sourced by. So
Mm. I love it. I love it. So, yeah, let's dive right into the victim triangle. So, do you want to explain that?
sure, the victim triangle is, so we all come to play a role in this mega drama called life. Every single one of us. And there's not a single one of us here that did not, on some level, the part of us that we have separated from. And so we're not necessarily conscious of it, but it doesn't change the fact that we are connected with that which intended us into being exactly who we are with the history that we've taken on and including the beliefs of that history. And so we come in and we play these characters that we take on. Who are we really? We are connected to universal, we are eternal beings, we're vibrational, we're connected to that, we're an ongoing projection of that energy source. So uh, but I've taken on this form, this makeup, this story, and we play. Once we're here and we have our story, we sort of are set up with our story from birth. But from pre-birth. we actually come in and begin to take on the role, the story, that we then forget who we are and think that's who we are instead. And there are three roles in that drama. And it's the life drama. It's the same three roles that's played in every drama, whether it's a TV movie or whatever, a storybook or a human life. It's the same story, has the same three characters, and that is the victim, the persecutor, and the one who's the savior, the rescuer. And we just, once we take on those roles, we play them around and around with each other all day long. This is what we do. And they are actually defense strategies, because when I believe I'm separate from what is real and what is source, when I believe that I'm here all alone in the world, then I look around and go, oh my gosh, it's me against it's just me. It's just me here. So I gotta, like, what am I going to do to survive? And those three roles are actually survival defense strategies. That it's sort of like the first one says, I can't do it on my own. I'm going to have to team up with somebody. I'm going to have to get somebody who's willing to help me because I can't do it. So that defense strategy of the victim is collapse. You know, if I'm little enough, if I can't figure it out, if I can't take care of me. And it's not that this is conscious, guys. It's just, it's a react. It's a defense strategy. It's taken on, but it's coming out of a belief system about who I am. And if I see myself as unworthy or unable, then I may take on the collapse of the victim, and sort of that will be my way of moving through life. Now I'll play the rescuer and I'll play the persecutor from that angle, from that position. But also the second role is the bully, is the persecutor, is the one who came to be the quote bad guy. You know, we really did come to play these out, and not because there's something bad or wrong about us, but because this is the next experience that I, as a conscious soul, want to experience. And that role, their defense strategy, the bully, the persecutor, is attack. Because I mean, if I see some danger coming at me, you better believe I'm thinking I'm going to get you before you get me, right? So that's how persecutors see the world. They see themselves as in danger, and so they react out of that place and become dangerous.
Yeah. Would you say that that's like fight or flight mode?
Fight or flight, the persecutor victim.
Mm-hmm.
Fight, persecutor, flight, victim.
Mm.
And there's another role, however, that we don't tend to think of as victim. And when we play this particular role, that's of the rescuer. Remember, there's three characters in this drama that is cycling through our lives, that we're cycling through. And the other is the one who's going to save the day, the one who's going to save us from, the one who picks up and carries the victim or fights the bad guy, the one who, and that's how the rescuer goes into those roles as well. The rescuer is that one who actually believes that their self-worth, their value to the world comes through their ability to save others. If I'm not taking care of you, then it means I'm worthless. And so the rescuer, that's the role of the rescuer. And frankly, you can also look at these three roles as levels of maturity, because we all come in as helpless. We all come in. There's not a human on the planet that didn't get here through infancy, through coming in, and here I am totally dependent, literally at the mercy of. But for an infant, they don't think like that. They're not seeing themselves as victim, but truly they're having that experience of what it is to be totally dependent on another human being. Every single one of us know what that feels like. So that is a stage of maturity that we're designed to go through. Now you got to ask why that would be so purposeful. Why would that be? Why don't we come in fully realized in adults, remembering? Because we are designed to go through that. And during that infancy and childhood, we're taking on the role the character that we can't come to play. We're taking it through our parents who are modeling it for us. They're showing us their lineage beliefs being played out. We're getting to see that. And we have their lineage beliefs in our DNA. So we come to express a certain package. That doesn't mean we are that package. but we forget that we're not.
Mm.
And so we take it on. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah. So, all right, this is what I understand. The victim feels little. And I think that we're in a world that tells us you're too much, you're too this, you're too that, you can't be this, you can't be that, you can't have it all. So we shrink and it feels safe. But we shrink because we feel unworthy of the abundance the universe has in store for us. And the persecutor is the one who, rather than shrinking, I'm going to attack because that's what I know. Like, I'm going to attack you before you attack me, like you said. So I feel like that is a lot of people, especially these days. There's so much anger and so much frustration.
It's fear-based.
It
Because
is.
I believe I'm in danger. And
Mm-hmm.
my response, if I have the persecutor set up, that starting gate position, and that depends on how I'm set up in childhood, it can be based on just the birth order. Like second-born children, or firstborn, can be persecutors from different angles. Yeah. And then go ahead. You were saying, and then the third, I'd love to
And
hear
then
the summary.
the rescuer, which is a perspective that I guess I haven't paid attention to, but I guess this is a lot of healers, and the healers that feel like their worth is tied up in them healing. And I think that we're in a phase where we have a lot of people that want to serve, but they don't have a balance of like allowing, and they feel like I have to be a minimalist and I can't accept abundance because I have to give. But I do talk about how that can be a little, I don't want to say toxic. That may not be the right word, but it's an ebb and flow. You have to receive as well as give. So making sure that your cup is full. But I could see the rescuer being someone who just feels like they have to give, but then they become depleted.
Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah, and I would say that rescuer is someone who may also simply be coming from a place of, the only way I know how to be of value, that the only way I belong in my family is if I fix them, if I make them well, if I carry them, if I feel for them, if I control them, if I direct their life. And so they become controllers. And control is simply, again, a defense strategy. None of this is bad or wrong, by the way, because it's not like, oh, you should be more of this or you shouldn't be that. It's not. This is how we expand our consciousness, is through playing these roles out with one another. And we come to play the complementary and contrasting parts so that we can have the whole three-dimensional experience of what otherwise would be merely a belief system. It would be merely a mental thing, rather than I get to feel it, smell it, touch it, experience it, and wherever that is. And we know where we're supposed to be in life because it's where we are. Now, I know that's hard for people who say, I shouldn't be where I am. This is too hard, to this, to that. But to a soul, the soul is not interested in your comfort or your happiness even. It is interested in one thing, that because it remembers who you are. It knows that beneath it all, that when you take off the wardrobe and the character that you're carrying and expressing, demonstrating, that beneath that all, you are joy. You will return to that. That's who you are. And you're here to play, be the cowboy on the frontier, the great frontier. You're here to take the ride. And that it lands you, your particular setup lands you in the turf that you chose to take the ride you decided you wanted to come take. And this, to me, is what it is to be radically self-responsible, because that's how you get off the triangle. Now, you don't stop playing the part necessarily, but what happens is you begin to use it. You begin to, instead of, why is this happening to me? And they shouldn't do that, and blame. What we begin to do instead is we go, begin to go, what can I learn from this? How is this
Mm-hmm.
growing me? How is this for me? How can this expand me? Why would I decide to have attracted this into my life? And when you
Mm-hmm.
just make that shift, everything changes, because then you begin to become a director of the play you want to play out, rather than a hapless victim of this thing that's happened to you as if you had no part in it.
Mm.
Is that
I love it. Yes, yes, yes.
oh good?
I absolutely love it. Yeah. So what would be some action steps that people can take to get off the triangle?
Well, I use a two triangle system.
Okay.
The victim triangle is the downward facing triangle because it spirals you down, and the victim is at the apex, that bottom apex, because it is really a one down position from both the rescuer and the persecutor. So that one up, one down position. And this is the story now that we take on, and we all have one, and it's not a problem. And no, you don't need to get rid of it, because good luck with that. That's how we know we're not supposed to, because we don't, we can't. It is part, it's what we came to experience, but we can. And then there's the upward facing triangle that is really, it's the Trinity, really, the what in sacred geometry is called the sacred seed, the sacred um, code of that is implanted in each and every one of us, that holds the memory of who we truly are. And they
Mm.
say in sacred geometry that it's located at the base of the spine. Oh, the Vedas call that the Kundalini.
Mm-hmm.
Is that place where the tricell, the memory of who we really are, and it is accessible through the body, through the breath, through the body. We begin to have experiences that actually bring us, that stir that shake that energy and begin to stir it. So it begins to, through our experiences of contrast, most often, very always contrasting. You know what I mean by contrast? Resistant things that create resistance in our life, things we are afraid of, things we don't like, the things we push against. These are the things that are actually brought to us to stir us and begin to have us ask important questions like, who am I really, and why is this happening to me? And but as long as I've got the finger pointed out there, I'm missing out
Yes.
on this. So the very first thing we do to begin to move out of that lower triangle and access the upper triangle, which also has three faces. They're the three parts of the one face. And that is that you might think of it as masculine and feminine. And then there is the marriage between the two. But I call it the top notch, that where the victim is the bottom. The exact opposite of that is the observer, not the victor. It's not about, because that's still on the triangle. Now I'm on top. Now I'm on bottom. Now I'm on top. But it's the apex that is the observer, simply understanding that by bringing the witness to my experience, everything changes, which has been established in neuroscience. We now know that as soon as you bring an observer into an experiment, the experiment changes. It doesn't matter. You cannot be a complete objective observer. You because your energy and your intention on it will shift it. And when you put intention on something that well, you grow it, you fertilize it. So we want to be very careful, and this is another step to getting off, about where we put our attention,
Mm-hmm.
because what we attend, what we pay attention to, gets bigger. I know I can go on and on about this, and I talk about it a lot.
I am absolutely loving it. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this podcast, is to help people understand, like, our thoughts create our reality. And so what you're saying about where our attention goes, like, we're manifesting by default. So rather than just manifesting by default, actually take control of it and be intentional in your actions and thoughts. And I
Yes,
mean, I absolutely love it.
that's awesome, Niajae. You know, you're I love this because when I started out 40 years ago, when I talk like this, people, and I was talking a lot like this, I've grown a lot since then. So it's expanded. It's gotten more zeroed in over the years. And I've got a lot, but the we were in a different place then. It was seen as woo woo. It was seen as that's not, but now science has brought these. And so now what we're dealing with is a consciousness, evolving consciousness, which is the whole reason we're doing this thing, guys. Every role is necessary, including the bully bad guy, quote, bad guy. Where would the Jesus story be, for instance, without Judas? Would we have ever even heard of Jesus if there had been no Judas? There is all of these roles, and what is going on in our world, as painful as it is. Nobody said that consciousness does not involve pain. Pain is one of the greatest motivators. It is what it stirs the consciousness. It stirs that sleeping kundalini dramatically. And the push against is part of the process. It's on that lower triangle, because really what we learn from it, however, is that what we push against pushes back. In other words, when I persecute you, I'm inviting an attack. It's never the first strike that starts the war. It's the retaliation that starts the war.
Yes. If you were looking for a sign, here it is. This is your reminder to not settle, to know your worth, and to follow your bliss. This is a reminder to maintain alignment and show up in your fullest expression. Abundant and Aligned Society is an accountability program to remind you that you are a powerful being and you deserve to live the life you truly desire. Go to niajae.com/society to join in on the magic, because life is meant to be abundant. So you have your guiding principles and victim perspective that has the 10 laws. So the first law is law of cause and effect. Second law is law of vibration. So I know there's a lot to go over, but can you give like a quick overview of like what that is?
Those first two laws?
Oh, no, no.
Or the
like
whole thing? You want just a quick...
Yeah, a quick overview of the whole thing. And the law that I would like to dive into is the law of alignment. But if you give a quick overview first, then we can dive into that one law.
Yeah, so the 10 laws are based on universal principles that have been around since the very beginning. They go all the way back to Egypt, Hermes Trismegistus, who was, they don't know whether he lived on Earth or whether, well, they don't know, but he is the one who began to recognize that we are energy in motion, and which is our emotion. So we have, I use something called the reality formula. When we believe what we think, two things automatically happen. And this is one of the guiding principles, but is the one around which all the rest fall. So when we believe what we think, two things happen. The first thing is that we feel the feelings that go with believing that thought. Now, we have beliefs that were pipelined into us through our DNA. So we come in already packed, already with these dormants. Now, they haven't necessarily, then our childhood is designed to trigger. And so we will have core beliefs come up, and that becomes, when we believe them, we feel as if they're true. So when I believe that the world is dangerous, I feel paranoid, I feel distrustful, I feel afraid, of course. And the second thing is that we begin to act as if it's true. We begin to become the character who believes that. We feel and act it. And what that does is creates an energy. You know how you can go into a room and kind of look at someone and go, man, that is one angry person. You've never even seen them, but you can feel it. You pick up on their vibe. Well, we're vibrational. Whatever we're believing, that's the energy we're going to be vibing. And that is what the world is going to be picking up from us. And we are both transmitters, but we're also receivers. And so what we will attract to us, what we'll actually be looking for, is that which resonates on our vibe. And we will find it. And that will show us, reflect to us, the law of reflection, that's one of the guiding principles, reflect to us who it is we believe we are. Or it will reflect to us something we're believing about ourselves in the world. And then this is how it becomes actually for us, which is the first guiding principle. You know, it's for us. Everything is for us because it's vibrational. It's going to be a vibrational match. So through this thing, even if it's painful, what you're getting a chance to see is the painful belief you're carrying that this is reflecting. And so these guiding principles are it's the understanding of how the mind works. And when you operate with these 10 guiding principles, when you use them to experience, to observe and integrate, that's the word I'm looking for, integrate your life experience, then you're a consciousness. You begin to be able to direct your consciousness and use these principles actually to help you co-create the world you want to live in for you and for the world. Because the truth is, the secret is this: it's not what's happening out there. When we try to change what's happening out there, what we end up doing is, one of the guiding principles, we begin to focus on it more, and the more we focus on it, the bigger it gets. It's sort of like waking up in the morning, I've got a little pimple right here, and I can't leave it alone. I pick. By the time I go out, it's this big red inflamed. My friend looks at me and says, "What is that on your head?" You know, I have picked it. I have expanded it through my attention to it. And this is what we do in life, over and over again. So again, we want to choose carefully. The guiding principles teach us how to do that.
Yes. So powerful. I love everything you said. And I think that for some people, this concept is a little difficult to grasp, because they say, well, the bad things happen, like I caused the bad things that happen to me. So they have a hard time accepting that it's our core beliefs or pre-programming that creates our blocks and limiting beliefs. Like, we'll take money issues for an example. Like, maybe I do believe in past lives, but like, let's say you had a hard time in your past life, and then in your childhood, your parents say money doesn't grow on trees. And so then you have this belief that money is hard to come by. And if you have that belief, then that is what will reflect in your reality. And so there's a lot of people that are just like, well, I got laid off, you're saying that's my fault. But essentially, our energy does attract our reality to us. And some people, like, what would you say to someone who has that feeling of, well, you're saying I attracted the bad things that happened to me? What would you say to them?
Well, here's the thing about that. We want to be careful, because I don't want to be a victim to my core beliefs. I don't want to say, well, it's my programming and therefore this is the way I am. I want to understand that I am responsible. And what is going, it's not about saying I'm not responsible for what I believe and that's why I've attracted, and that's still me in victim. But to step out of it and say, you know, I came to take this ride, exactly this. And this hardship, this challenge I'm having, the scarcity, the universe always says yes to us, always says yes, always. It can only say yes because it's ever expanding. So, but it's what we ask for. When I believe that I can't have more, then the universe will give me an abundance of less to show me through. It will show me what it is I'm believing. But if I say, well, this is just my upbringing, well, then now all of a sudden it's still, I'm at the mercy of it. I can't shift it. But when I say, wow, I came into a lineage of scarcity. This is not only mine, but it came down through me. And that was purposeful because I chose on this part of me that I've forgotten maybe, but I know that there is this part of me that's awakening, that is more and more aware that the power lies in being able to understand that I'm the designer of this world I'm experiencing in my life. And even though it sucks, I came in because I am that kind of heroic being that I came in to take on the toughness, the challenges. You know, the Vedas teach that It is the masters that take on the most difficult lives because they are willing to put themselves, dive deep into the contrast of life in order to glean the gems that are there of understanding. And so
Mm.
you turn it into what it is, grist for the mill of remembering who you are as a powerful child of the king and queen of the universe. You
Mm.
cannot not be. There's only one mind, say the ancients. This is how I've come to see this is there's in alchemy, they teach that there's only one mind and everything, all 400 billion galaxies plus are within that mind. That means every one of us are a thought projection of the one mind. This is how we are all one. We are all emanations, expressions of the one mind. And we come to play a particular part in the drama of victim versus hero, dark versus light, good versus bad. This drama that we're playing out is for our expansion, and we're the ones who said, I'm going to go play the bad guy this time. I'm going to go play the victim that's been downtrodden. I'm going to go play and this is how I see it.
Do you think that it's kind of like a swinging pendulum where there's times in your life where you're the victim and times when you're the hero,
Absolutely.
or people's perspective, like you may be
Yes.
the persecutor in someone's story.
Yeah, we have different roles. We play with different people. You're absolutely right about that. Yes. Like, in my family, I might be the hero, the one who saves the family. In the world, I might look like the bad guy, the one who punches people out for getting in my way, right? Or in my family's way, or hurting someone that I love. There's many, many persecutor personality characters, I want to call them, because none of these are who we are. They're all story that we bought into about who we are.
The narrative.
It's the narrative that we believe, because that's what we are.
Yeah.
We come to take on a story. And waking up and remembering that is the key to freedom. But it cannot happen as long as I'm placing the blame out there. I cannot wake up as long as I believe, well, I'm just at the mercy of this, because I have to make them change in order for me to remember who I am, for me to feel better. So I have to, that's sort of like getting something in your eye and going to a mirror and looking in the mirror. And instead of using the mirror as a guide to see what's in your eye, you look in the mirror and you go, there's that eye, there's that thing, and you're poking at the mirror trying to get rid of the thing that's in your eye. Well, in the world, this is what we're doing. It's inner shift that will shift what we see out here, because what we see out here is a vibrational reflection. And science is now proving this, that it all is a mental projection.
Yes.
And when you understand that, you begin to use the mirror for what it's intended, which is to find the belief in you that you're holding against you, and shift there. That's the key.
So powerful. I love it. I love it. So can we dive into the law of alignment?
I would love to dive in. The law of alignment, this is it's again based in that understanding that we, by aligning with our true nature, who we truly are as a intentional projection. There's the law of projection is one of the 10. We are that projection of the one source. If you can think of it as, again, the hose, or like I think of it as a kaleidoscope, or not a kaleidoscope, well, maybe, but more, or a telescope. Actually, telescope's a better image. It starts out, and it focuses in, and this energy comes down, the stream of consciousness, and we want to line up with that. We want to line up with that. Right? We have a choice. There on the triangle there's those two. Which one am I going to line up? The higher story of who I am, or the unhappy story of who I am? And it's so, and for me, it has been a practice to line up with the higher remembering of who I am. And that means for me a daily practice, something we do every day. And because otherwise the gravitational pull of the story, it's so seductive. It is it is so compelling to fall into. And there are times it's a wheel, it happens on a wheel. We go up into remembering and we get to hang out there a little while, and then we go back down in the story. And this is by intention, by design. It's not a problem. It doesn't mean you are doing it wrong, or that you're in relapse or regression when you go back in after having such a good run for a period of time, hours, days, weeks, whatever, years. Maybe you felt like you were at the top, you remembered who you, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh my gosh, I got to go back down in again, into the darkness, into the contrasting experience, into feeling worthless, inadequate, not good enough, something's wrong with me. And life again is designed to trigger you to go down. And so it's guaranteed that you're gonna, only if you're here to expand your consciousness, which why else would you be here other than to further the drama that's being played out? But we're all here for those purposes, to further the drama and remember who we are.
Mm.
So we want to align with that part of us that remembers through a daily practice. And that's, for me, I haven't missed my daily practice in 15, 16 years.
Wow.
Of every day. And that can include some kind of breathing. It can be yoga. It can be anything that helps you move out of the story mind consciousness, what I call the victim ego. And remember, have those moments. Nature does such a good job with it, to walk in nature and to really pay attention to this moment, and that little frog or that bird, or where you are just in this moment appreciating what the universe is bringing you to be seen, to be experienced, because it's all vibrational. It's all vibrational.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So, what are your top 3 tips for living an abundant life?
Well, the first one would be align. Daily alignment is the first. Without it, we are hypnotized into and the story, and we will live there more than not. And we sort of go in and out of that practice. There are times when, like, like I remember, because I've been practicing a daily practice for 40 since I was a teenager, because my mom emphasized the importance of it. But for years I would do it haphazardly. I'd get too busy. I was raising kids. I was this, and all that was legitimate. And those times without it brought me back to it. So that finally, when I made the decision to not miss a day, it's not because I out of guilt or obligation. It was because I realized that it was that important to my being able to maintain a consistent frequency of remembering who I am, and being able to share from that space, which is a tip for how to become a conscious leader. So that is the very first tip. And the second tip is give up blame. Give up the need, that part when you catch yourself blaming, and that means yourself as well. I'm not a failure because this was a biggie for me, because I'm someone who has been down the road. I had my first child at 16. I was raised in Appalachia. We had, but at the same, my father was there were 8 of them, and every one of them were addicts by either drugs or religion or alcohol. All the men were all alcoholics, including my father. There was sexual abuse. I grew up with all of that. So I've had lots of opportunity to test these principles out on the ground. So I came in with a mother who handed me universal laws, and a father who initiated me through dysfunction, so that I had the contrast experience to be able to begin to apply these laws, which I didn't do for many years. I mean, I was in my, I was 18 or so when I began to really begin, but oh my goodness, it was a slow awakening to really use the universal laws and learn how to put them on the ground. Blame is the first, that and doing a morning practice and giving up blame. And what would I say the third one is? Would be to forgive yourself.
Mm.
Because this idea, all these stories that you're carrying about not being good enough, about not doing it right, they're up for grabs. They're up for questioning, because the truth is that you are a heroic human. There are so many energies, because I too believe in other worlds and other uh, possibilities besides just this. This is not the be all end all. And what I've been told is that the energies, the unseen energies of the cosmos are watching and would give their eye teeth to be here on the front lines of this particular time in our life. Because frankly, what we're doing, according to what the downloads I receive in my morning practice, what we're doing here is we are getting ready to walk through the door of the next evolutionary exponential leap in consciousness, moving from that mentality that says rescuer is as good as it gets, to that which understands that I am a collaborator with source. I'm a co-creator. I am here to create my reality and to awaken to that. And it doesn't mean every single person will take that step. We all will take that exponential leap depending on where we are. We will take the next exponential leap. And that is happening on our planet as we speak, in my opinion. That is what, well, not my opinion. Actually, it's my opinion. And that which moves through me, that I give a lot of credence to.
I love it. I love it. And I do think that we are going through a collective healing, and, you know, a lot of people are raising their level of consciousness. So I do agree with you. So thank you so much. So much information and wisdom and golden nuggets in this episode. So I definitely recommend the listeners to go back and listen to that again, because so much power. I'll also add in the show notes the link to the full 10 laws, because if you have interest in all 10 laws, definitely go check it out. I'm fascinated, and I love to do another episode where I dive into the 10 laws, because I think it's really powerful. And just coming out of that lower triangle and stepping into the next one, I think will be very transformational for a lot of people. So
thank you so much for opening your home, your office, your space to me. I appreciate it very much, and love the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And where can people find you online?
You can find me at lynneforrest.com, LYNNEFORREST.com. And can I just say one other thing I wanted to let people know? I'm so excited. My daughter and I actually do a webinar together. It's twice a month. It's called Reality Formula Live.
Oh.
And so if you go to realityformula.com, you'll find it, an invitation to that. It's twice a month, and we actually work with individuals to apply the guiding principles on the ground in their lives. So they come with an area where they're caught in their story, and we begin to offer them the tools that help them make that shift to seeing it from the higher perspective of the observer and the witnesser. So,
I love it.
yeah. So for your audience, those of you, I'd love to have this growing that community there of people. That's, to me, it's a place of accountability. It's where we come in together to help support each other in waking up and staying awake.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, I will add that in the show notes as well. Definitely go check her out and her daughter. And thank you again. Like, this has been really amazing. And I love when people just speak my language, but you have like 40 years of this, and like, just, it's really amazing to speak to someone with so much wisdom. I know that, you know, I've been doing my part, but it's just hearing someone with so much wisdom is really amazing. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, M&Ms, until next time, be decadent. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.